Well, the Praetorian Guard media, which obviously supports the undoing of our republic and our Constitution, and will support despotic behavior by an imperial president as long as that imperial president is pushing a leftist agenda. While they're reporting dutifully about Obama's tearing up, and they're playing it over and over again as he is proposing to violate the Bill of Rights and the Second Amendment, to violate separation of powers, and then put in place policies that will have no impact on mass murder, no impact on fighting terrorism, and will continue to harass and intimidate American citizens who seek to lawfully purchase weapons to protect themselves, among other things, which they have every right to do. Even if we didn't have a Second Amendment, they have every right to do it. And let us not forget that. The Second Amendment enshrines the belief of the founders of this nation that the right to bear arms is intertwined with individual liberty. And the right to bear arms and individual liberty came before the federal government. It came before Barack Obama. Now, I'm going to prove to you this isn't about saving lives for this president. I touched on it briefly yesterday, and I went in great detail yesterday about the history behind our Constitution, separation of powers, and the Second Amendment, so I won't do that again today. But Obama is releasing violent gun felons. He's releasing violent gun felons. He's releasing violent illegal immigrants. As a matter of policy, he vowed to veto any effort to crack down on sanctuary cities. His government approved a visa for one of the Islamo-Nazi mass murderers in San Bernardino, California, and has done precious little to tighten that system up. This president set in place a policy which he still hasn't been forthcoming about, fast and furious, in which we literally armed drug cartels in Mexico with weapons purchased in the United States. Now, none of this has to do with gun shows. None of this has to do with psychological problems. None of this has to do with loopholes or any of the rest. The government is already fully empowered to secure our border. It's already fully empowered to outlaw sanctuary cities. It's already fully empowered to keep in prison violent criminals, felons. It's already fully empowered to keep in prison violent illegal immigrants. But it won't. And it doesn't. Obama won't. Did Obama cry when the precious young lady was murdered in cold blood in San Francisco, a sanctuary city? We didn't hear from him for 48 to 72 hours. Did Obama cry when an American reporter was decapitated on tape? No. 10 minutes later, he was seen laughing and going off to play golf. Did Obama cry in the mass murder in San Bernardino, California, when he made his statement? No. And he got around to going and visiting the area and those folks on a way to his vacation. I'm sorry, I can't put up with this crap. Obama has made this a more violent, crime-ridden, terrorist target, this nation. He absolutely has. Now, what did he do to our police departments? What has he done to them? From Ferguson to Chicago to Baltimore and everywhere in between and everywhere around. The men and women in blue, the overwhelming majority, the vast majority of whom are outstanding human beings, honorable people who put their lives on their line every single day, are treated like crap. And we don't need just to stay in America. Let's look overseas. What does this president do to our military? What does he do to our military? He's eviscerating our military. He harasses our military. He socially engineers our military. He changes standards for our military to ensure that one constituent group or another will wear the uniform even though they're not physically and otherwise qualified. He doesn't care. He attacks their health insurance. He attacks their pay. He pink slips them. Oh, yes. This isn't about background checks or any of the rest of it. So, an Islamo-Nazi slips through our visa system under this president's watch. Congress is poised to punish these sanctuary cities by cutting off funding. Obama threatens to veto it. Obama releases violent, illegal immigrants back into our towns. Obama releases violent, homegrown felons back into our towns. He won't secure the border. He won't enforce deportations. He undermines our police departments, and we're supposed to believe he cares about protecting life in this country. And, of course, overseas. I don't remember Obama shedding a single tear for the young girls who are enslaved and raped repeatedly and brutalized. Do you? No, he's busy attacking we, the people. He won't even use the phrase Islamic terrorism, let alone Islamo-Nazis, and historically, I'm accurate. He doesn't shed a tear, not a drop, when Christians are being wiped out and Yazidis are being wiped out and the Kurds are under attack and every other group you can possibly imagine. Never sheds a tear. Doesn't shed a tear for the Jews who are terrorized and slaughtered in Israel by Palestinian terrorists. Doesn't shed a tear. Not a tear. For black Christians in Nigeria and the Sudan who are brutalized and murdered and sold into slavery and raped by Islamo-Nazis. Not a tear. But today he's shedding tears for proposals that wouldn't have stopped a single mass murder in the United States of America on his watch or anybody else's. Because he's not about that. He's about changing our governing system. And whether it's so-called climate change, a completely fabricated, phony science imported from Europe as a land grab, as a liberty grab to destroy our capitalist system, to undermine the industrial development of this nation. Always aimed at empowering government, empowering bureaucrats, disenfranchising you and Congress and so forth and so on. Creating phony issues, picking scabs about slavery, race baiting, his socialist propaganda about wages and on. We're in the freest country on the face of the earth. No thanks to him. We have the most magnificent institutions on the face of the earth. No thanks to him. We've accomplished a great deal as a people. No thanks to him. We've accomplished a great deal as individuals. No thanks to him. As a matter of fact, in spite of him, in spite of him, in spite of him. And now more of it today.